For centuries, Earth had been dismissed by the powers of the galaxy. The Galactic Council, an interstellar governing body that ruled over hundreds of worlds, had long since relegated Earth to the status of a primitive, insignificant planet. Its people were seen as little more than a curiosity primitive, stubborn, and struggling to escape the confines of their own world. The Council had no interest in Earth's affairs, considering its technology outdated and its resources too meager to be of real value. Earth was just one of many minor planets that lay in the shadow of the galaxy's more advanced civilizations. But beneath the surface of this so-called backwater world, something was quietly stirring. While the Galactic Council focused on the squabbles and power plays between the more advanced species of the universe, Earth was not as helpless as it appeared. It had been a long time since the last alien invasion, but Earth's people had learned. They had been pushed to the edge, overrun by hostile forces, abducted and experimented on. And they had been left to pick up the pieces each time, always forced to rebuild from the ashes. Yet in the quiet corners of the planet, in its hidden military bases and classified laboratories, Earth's brightest minds had begun to work. They studied the technology the invaders had left behind, analyzing every scrap of data, every fragment of alien tech. What Earth lacked in raw power, it made up for in resourcefulness and a fierce drive to survive. Slowly, over decades, Earth's scientists made breakthroughs, first in robotics, then in weapons technology, and eventually in space travel. At first, these advancements were modest, hidden from the prying eyes of the galaxy. But as Earth's technology improved, its military capabilities evolved, far beyond anything the Galactic Council could have imagined. Earth's leaders, aware that they had been treated as weak and inconsequential, began to form a secret plan, one that would not just defend the planet, but make a statement to the entire galaxy. Earth would no longer be a target. It would strike back. The first sign of Earth's new power came in the form of strange, encrypted signals that emanated from the planet's core. At first, these signals were dismissed by the Council as nothing more than random noise. After all, Earth had always been a source of miscommunication and misunderstanding. But as time went on, the signals grew more sophisticated, more deliberate. And they came at a time when the Galactic Council was distracted by internal squabbles, battles for power that threatened to tear the ruling body apart. The Council had no time to pay attention to a single, insignificant planet on the edge of their empire. But that would be their undoing. It wasn't until Earth's first fleet of warships, cloaked in advanced technology, silently slipped past the outermost borders of the Council's territory that the Galactic Council began to take notice. The ships appeared out of nowhere, a fleet of sleek, dark vessels designed for stealth and speed. They made no attempt at communication. Instead, they moved silently and methodically toward the heart of the galaxy. The Council's sensors barely detected them, but by the time the alarm was raised, it was too late. Earth's ships were already in motion, and the Council had no idea what kind of force they were up against. The first target was a mining colony on the outer rim of Council space. The colony had been nothing more than a pawn in the Council's quest for resources. The inhabitants were poor, underfed, and oppressed, their lives little more than a means to an end for the Council. When Earth's warships arrived, they showed no mercy. In a matter of hours, the colony was wiped off the map, reduced to rubble. But it wasn't the destruction that shocked the Galactic Council. It was the precision and brutality with which it was carried out. Earth had done more than just attack, it had sent a message. And that message was unmistakable. Earth would no longer stand idly by. The world that had once been disregarded, that had been broken and beaten time and time again, was finally ready to fight back. The Council had underestimated Earth, and now they were about to learn just how wrong they had been. As the first strike unfolded, the Galactic Council remained in disbelief. The destruction of the mining colony was swift, brutal, and unrelenting. The Council, caught off guard by the precision of Earth's assault, scrambled to understand what had just happened. How had a planet considered weak and insignificant been capable of such an organized and ruthless attack? The Council's leaders, seated within their vast space stations and citadels, demanded answers from their military commanders, but there were none. Earth had made its first move, and it was unlike anything they had anticipated. Meanwhile, on Earth, the true scale of the awakening was beginning to take shape. What the Council didn't realize was that this attack had been only the beginning. Beneath the surface of Earth's cities, deep underground and hidden from view, was a network of secret laboratories and military installations. These facilities had been established in the wake of the first alien invasions, when Earth's leaders realized that if they ever hoped to protect their planet from further exploitation, they would need to develop technology that could rival the galaxy's most powerful forces. In these hidden corners of the Earth, humanity's brightest minds had worked tirelessly for years, using scraps of alien technology combined with their own innovations to craft a weapon that was uniquely Earth's. While the Council had thought that Earth was too primitive to pose a real threat, they had grossly underestimated humanity's capacity for innovation and survival. The people of Earth, having faced constant invasions and oppression, had developed a deep well of resilience and resourcefulness. The more advanced civilizations of the galaxy might have had superior weapons, but Earth's ingenuity allowed its scientists to find ways to use what was available to them in unexpected ways. And now, after years of secret development, Earth had a fleet of ships capable of facing down the might of the Galactic Council. The first of these ships had been constructed with technology scavenged from previous alien encounters, carefully analyzed and reverse-engineered. The ships were equipped with cloaking devices, allowing them to slip through the Council's extensive surveillance systems undetected. They were small and agile, designed to avoid detection while delivering a devastating strike. The weapons they carried were also a product of years of research: hyper-advanced energy cannons that could obliterate entire structures in a matter of seconds, and shield technology that rendered them nearly invulnerable to traditional laser fire. The ships were designed for one purpose: to strike fast, strike hard, and leave no trace of the enemy behind. As the first wave of ships moved toward the next target, a highly populated trade hub, the Galactic Council was still scrambling to comprehend the scope of the threat. They knew Earth had never had a fleet like this before. They had always assumed that the planet was little more than a curiosity, too far behind in technology to be considered a real player in galactic politics. But the mining colony's destruction had shattered that perception. The Council's intelligence reports were now flooded with the same question: where had Earth hidden its technology, and how had they developed it so quickly? Earth's fleet continued its march through Council space, hitting strategic points with ruthless efficiency. In each location, the same story unfolded: the enemy arrived without warning, struck with overwhelming force, and then disappeared into the vastness of space. Earth was not just fighting for survival, it was executing a carefully orchestrated campaign of revenge. Every attack, every move was calculated. Each victory further cemented the growing fear within the Galactic Council, as it became clear that Earth was not the weak, defenseless world they had once thought it to be. The Council's response was swift but fractured. While some military factions called for an all-out war to crush Earth once and for all others suggested diplomacy, perhaps it was time to acknowledge Earth's newfound strength and attempt a peace agreement. But Earth had no interest in peace. It was too late for negotiation. Earth's revenge was not about reaching an agreement or securing peace. It was about making sure the galaxy would never again underestimate the strength of humanity. The Galactic Council had opened a door that Earth would now forcefully walk through, and nothing could stop the consequences that would follow. The Galactic Council had always prided itself on its military strength, its fleets larger and more powerful than any force in the known galaxy. When word of Earth's initial assault spread, there was no panic, just disbelief. How could a planet so far behind in technology launch such a devastating and coordinated attack? Surely this was a fluke. An isolated incident, perhaps the work of a rogue faction of Earth's population. Yet, within days of the mining colony's destruction, the Council began to realize that it was not just one attack they were under siege. Earth's warships, small but powerful, were moving relentlessly across Council space, attacking without mercy or warning. The first fleet sent to respond was a force of immense scale, a full battalion of the Galactic Council's most formidable ships, including battle cruisers, carriers, and war frigates, all equipped with the latest advancements in weaponry and armor. These ships were designed for warfare on a grand scale, their weapon systems able to vaporize entire fleets in seconds. The Council believed this show of strength would be enough to crush Earth's forces, to restore order and demonstrate their dominance. But when they engaged Earth's fleet in battle, they quickly learned how wrong they were. Earth's ships, though smaller in size, moved with remarkable speed and agility, easily evading the massive firepower of the Galactic Council's cruisers. The warships were equipped with advanced cloaking technology that allowed them to slip in and out of battle, leaving their enemies unable to track them. Earth's new weapons were unlike anything the Council had encountered before. Hyper-efficient energy cannons that discharge concentrated beams of destructive force, capable of piercing through the heaviest shields and armor. With each engagement, the Council's fleets were decimated. It was clear now Earth was not just attacking, they were dismantling the very foundation of the Galactic Council's military might. The Council's commanders were left scrambling to understand the nature of Earth's technology. Every report they received from their forces painted a picture of complete chaos. Ships that were thought to be invulnerable were being destroyed in minutes, and the Earth ships, though vastly outnumbered, fought with a precision and savagery that no one had expected. The Council's military strategy was built on overwhelming force, the assumption that sheer numbers could crush any resistance. But Earth was not fighting with numbers, it was fighting with cunning, speed, and unparalleled ingenuity. They used the element of surprise to devastating effect, striking when and where the Council least expected it. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the leadership watched with grim satisfaction as the first phase of their revenge unfolded. Every attack had been meticulously planned, each target chosen for its strategic value. Earth's commanders had studied the Council's tactics for years, learning their weaknesses, understanding their operations. The warships that moved through Council space were not just vessels of destruction, they were symbols of humanity's resilience. A message sent to the rest of the galaxy that Earth would no longer be a victim. Every strike was a calculated blow against the Galactic Council's arrogance. As Earth's forces continued to press deeper into Council space, the fear within the Council grew. The attacks were too precise, too coordinated for Earth to be acting alone. Some speculated that Earth had formed alliances with other oppressed species in the galaxy, but no one had evidence to support this theory. Others feared that Earth had developed a new, unknown technology, a weapon that could challenge the might of the entire galaxy. In truth, Earth had done something far more dangerous. It had used the Council's own tactics against them. The same arrogance that had led the Galactic Council to underestimate Earth had now become their greatest weakness. The first significant battle came at a heavily fortified outpost that controlled a major hyperspace route. The outpost had been an essential part of the Council's supply chain, and it was guarded by a fleet of destroyers and cruisers. Earth's fleet arrived without warning, its ships moving in a perfect formation that seemed to predict the Council's every move. The battle was swift and brutal. Earth's ships were everywhere, slipping in and out of the fray, targeting the Council's weak points with ruthless efficiency. Within hours, the outpost was reduced to ruins, its strategic importance erased in a single stroke. As the smoke cleared and the remnants of the Council's forces limped back to their bases, the full extent of Earth's message became clear. The Galactic Council had underestimated Earth, and now it was paying the price. The war had only just begun, but one thing was certain: Earth was not going to be defeated. Not this time. The Galactic Council would learn that the planet they had dismissed as weak was now a force to be reckoned with. The Galactic Council's response to Earth's growing offensive was swift yet disorganized. In the wake of the devastating loss at the mining colony in the outpost, the Council convened a war summit, desperate to come up with a strategy that could put an end to the Earth threat. The military leadership, still reeling from the shocking defeat, argued that overwhelming force was the only solution. They believed that Earth's ships, despite their advanced technology, were still too few in number to stand up against the might of the entire Council. The Council, with its vast resources and countless fleets, could crush Earth's forces with sheer firepower, they reasoned. Yet, as time passed, it became clear that their calculations were flawed. Earth's ships were not simply outmatching their fleets, they were devastating them. The Council sent fleet after fleet into battle, confident that eventually their numbers would win out. But each time they were met with a relentless and cunning defense. Earth's warships, though smaller in size, continued to outmaneuver and outsmart the Council's massive forces, striking with terrifying precision. Every engagement ended with the same outcome. Earth's enemies were destroyed, their fleets scattered and broken. The Council's commanders began to understand just how thoroughly they had underestimated Earth. Their advanced technologies, their superior numbers, their vast armies, all of it was proving useless against a force that fought with determination and resourcefulness. The key to Earth's success lay not just in its superior weaponry or strategic intelligence, but in the very nature of its tactics. The Council's approach to warfare had always been about dominance through overwhelming force. They relied on sheer numbers and technological superiority, assuming that a few key victories would crush any opposition. But Earth's forces were playing a different game altogether. They didn't need to win every battle. They needed to make each one count. Every strike was designed to disable, disrupt, and destroy the Council's ability to fight back not just through firepower, but through psychological warfare. Earth's attacks were calculated to break the morale of the Council's forces. The small, agile ships would appear without warning, strike quickly, and disappear before the enemy could retaliate. The Council's commanders, once so confident in their superiority, found themselves constantly on edge, never knowing where or when the next attack would come. This constant uncertainty wore down the Council's resolve. Ships that once considered themselves invulnerable were now falling, one after another, to Earth's seemingly invincible tactics. At the same time, the Earth fleet wasn't just fighting battles, it was waging a war of attrition against the Council's infrastructure. Key supply routes were severed and critical systems were sabotaged. Earth's spies, once dismissed as amateurs by the Council, had become experts in infiltration and sabotage. Their operatives slipped through the Council's defenses with ease, planting destructive devices in vital locations, leaking critical intelligence, and turning the very tools of the Council's power against them. It wasn't just the Council's fleets that were being attacked, it was their entire empire. Every major outpost, every communications hub, every supply depot was under constant threat. The very foundation of the Galactic Council was beginning to crumble under the weight of Earth's relentless assault. The Council's leadership, fractured by internal disagreements, was now facing an existential crisis. Some of the more conservative members still insisted that Earth could be pacified through force, while others, those who had witnessed the scale of the destruction, began to see the truth. They could not defeat Earth using the same tactics they had relied on for centuries. Earth's revenge was not a mere military campaign, it was a full-scale challenge to the Council's very existence. In desperation, the Council called for reinforcements from across the galaxy, rallying its allies and attempting to form new coalitions. But by now, Earth's fleet was already on the move, striking deep into Council space, targeting not just military outposts, but also the symbolic heart of the Council's power. Earth was proving that it could take on the entire galaxy and win. With each new victory, Earth's message grew louder and clearer. The era of the Galactic Council's dominance was over. The galaxy would never again look at Earth as a weak, insignificant planet. It was a new day, and Earth was leading the charge. The Galactic Council, once a unified body of power and authority, was now in a state of utter chaos. The Earth fleet had been relentless, its attacks punctuated by swift, merciless strikes against strategic targets. Earth's presence had rattled the very core of the Council, and the reality that they might be on the verge of losing control of their empire began to set in. The Council's once imposing fleets were in disarray, their commanders plagued by doubt and fear. The unthinkable had happened. Earth, a planet they had long viewed as primitive and insignificant, had turned the tables and was now leading the charge in an unrelenting war of revenge. Back on Earth, the planet's leaders stood resolute, knowing full well that the stakes had never been higher. Their forces, now more coordinated than ever, were striking at the heart of the Galactic Council's military infrastructure, rendering it ineffective piece by piece. Yet they were not only attacking military targets, they were striking symbols of the Council's control trade hubs, communication centers, and mining colonies that fueled the Council's vast network. With each assault, Earth's message became clearer: no part of the Council's empire was safe, and Earth, once the victim, was now the force to be reckoned with. As the attacks grew bolder, the Galactic Council found itself scrambling for answers. The intelligence they had relied on, the overwhelming superiority they had once enjoyed, had all been turned on its head. Earth's relentless march through Council space was no longer just a series of attacks, it was a campaign to dismantle the entire system. The Council, whose members had always seen themselves as the rulers of the galaxy, was now scrambling to hold their empire together. The desperation within the Council's leadership grew by the day. Debates over strategy became heated, with some calling for immediate, all-out war to crush Earth's forces, while others warned that such an approach would only escalate the conflict and risk the total destruction of their fleets. The idea of negotiating with Earth, of acknowledging its strength, seemed too much to bear. After all, this was Earth, a world they had long dismissed, a planet whose name was synonymous with weakness and disorder. Yet now, Earth was rewriting the rules of warfare, and the Council had no answers. Desperate for a solution, the Council's military leaders began to reach out to their allies, alien species and factions that had long been under the Council's control. Some responded, sending reinforcements to help defend Council space. But the response was far slower than the Council had hoped, and in many cases, the reinforcements arrived too late to prevent further destruction. Earth had already taken advantage of the momentum, moving deeper into Council territory with no intention of stopping. In a last-ditch effort, the Council attempted to rally their most powerful allies, the Centaur, a brutal and ancient species known for their unparalleled military prowess. The Centaur had been instrumental in the creation of the Council's early victories, their advanced warships and soldiers being the hammer that had crushed countless uprisings across the galaxy. The Centaur were merciless, feared by every species in the galaxy for their efficiency in combat. The Council hoped that their return would be the tipping point, the force necessary to crush Earth's rebellion once and for all. But even the Centaur were wary. Despite their immense strength, the Centaur had always been a species that prized honor in battle. They had heard whispers of Earth's advanced technology, and the tactics employed by the Earth fleet were unlike anything they had ever encountered. Their ships were not just designed for power, they were designed for surprise, for precision, and for the kind of warfare that could topple even the most entrenched of powers. As the Centaur prepared to join the fray, the Galactic Council's hopes rested on their shoulders. But deep down, the Council's leadership knew they had a problem far bigger than the Centaur or any of their allies could solve. Earth had become more than just a thorn in their side, it had become a symbol of defiance, a reminder that no matter how powerful they believed themselves to be, there were forces in the galaxy that could not be contained or controlled. The longer Earth's rebellion continued, the more the galaxy began to take notice. The Council's authority was crumbling, and its once formidable reputation was beginning to unravel. Every victory for Earth was a victory for the oppressed species that had long suffered under the Council's reign. The war was no longer just about one planet's revenge. It had become a galvanizing force, a catalyst for others to rise up against the oppressive rule of the Galactic Council. What had started as a single planet's fight for survival had now become a movement that was shaking the very foundations of the galaxy itself. And as Earth's warships moved forward, the Council was left with an unsettling realization: Earth's revenge was not just a battle, it was the beginning of a revolution. The tide of the war was turning, and the Galactic Council could no longer deny the truth. Earth was a force to be reckoned with. Despite their overwhelming technological advantage, their massive fleets, and their galaxy-spanning influence, the Council had found itself unable to stop Earth's relentless onslaught. The strategic attacks, the precision strikes, the way Earth had infiltrated the very heart of the Council's military infrastructure, it was clear now that Earth wasn't just winning battles, they were slowly dismantling the Galactic Council's entire structure. As Earth's warships continued to appear, striking at key military targets with frightening efficiency, the Council's leadership became increasingly fractured. The initial disbelief and denial had given way to panic and confusion. There were no easy solutions. The idea of a full-scale assault, one that could wipe Earth off the map, had been dismissed as too costly, too risky. Earth's technological advances had turned what should have been a swift, overwhelming conflict into a protracted nightmare for the Council. The weapons that Earth had developed were beyond anything they had expected, and their tactics were nothing short of genius. The Earth fleet had, by now, grown in size and strength, its forces swelling with recruits from the liberated worlds that had joined the rebellion. Once hesitant to join, many species across the galaxy had now seen Earth's resolve and their unrelenting victories, and they had thrown their support behind the Earth cause. What started as a single world's revenge mission had grown into a revolution, a fight not only for Earth's survival, but for the freedom of all oppressed civilizations under the Council's thumb. One of the most significant blows to the Galactic Council's military came when Earth's forces infiltrated one of the Council's most secretive installations, an advanced research facility that had been working on the development of new weapons capable of wiping out entire planets. The installation, buried deep within the heart of Council space, was thought to be impenetrable. But Earth's operatives, experts in espionage and sabotage, had broken through the defenses with terrifying precision. In the dead of night, they struck. The facility, once the pride of the Council's military development, was reduced to rubble within hours. The weapons they had been working on, weapons that could shift the balance of power across the galaxy, were destroyed before they could even be tested. The destruction of the facility sent shockwaves throughout the Council. Their technological edge, once their most reliable advantage, was slipping away. Earth was not just a tactical threat, they were now a direct challenge to the very power structures that had governed the galaxy for millennia. The Council's commanders, once so confident in their ability to dominate any force, now found themselves on the defensive, their every move anticipated and countered by Earth's brilliant strategists. The Council's attempts to retaliate only seemed to make matters worse. They sent in their best fleets, hoping that a coordinated strike against Earth's warships would finally bring them to their knees. But once again, Earth's ships outmaneuvered them, striking quickly and vanishing into the depths of space before the Council could even react. The Earth fleet's small, agile ships, capable of cloaking themselves and darting across the battlefield with blinding speed, were proving impossible to track or defeat. What's more, the constant pressure, the constant sense of being under attack, was taking its toll on the Council's morale. The fear of Earth's next move was beginning to cripple their decision-making. They were no longer acting as the united force they had once been, but as a collection of factions, each unsure of how to proceed, each unsure of what to do next. As Earth pressed forward, targeting Council supply lines and military installations, the galaxy's once absolute balance of power began to shift. The oppression that had been the hallmark of the Council's reign was beginning to unravel. The oppressed species, those who had long been subjugated, were rising up, emboldened by Earth's example. Rebel groups that had once been fragmented and weak now found their ranks swelling with new recruits, eager to fight for freedom. The Council was no longer the undisputed ruler of the galaxy, it was a crumbling empire, its authority fractured and diminishing with each passing day. For Earth's leaders, this was not just a war of revenge anymore. It had become something far greater. It was a battle for the future of the galaxy itself. Earth had not only sought vengeance, it had sparked a revolution that was sweeping through the stars. As the war continued, more and more worlds joined the fight, united by a common cause, to free themselves from the oppressive rule of the Galactic Council. But the Council wasn't done fighting. In desperation, they began to plan their final counteroffensive, gathering every last reserve they had. They would strike back with everything they could muster. But as they began to prepare their fleets, they knew deep down that the stakes had never been higher. The galaxy had changed, and Earth's victory, once thought impossible, was now within reach. The final battle was approaching, and both sides understood that nothing would ever be the same again. The final confrontation between Earth and the Galactic Council had arrived. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath as the two powers prepared for what would be the most decisive battle in history. Earth, emboldened by its successes and the growing rebellion of countless oppressed worlds, was determined to see the Council's reign come to an end. The Council, battered and broken, had gathered every last ounce of its remaining strength for a final push, hoping to strike back and restore their fractured empire. But even in their desperation, they could not shake the overwhelming sense that the tide had already turned. The Galactic Council, once the undisputed rulers of the galaxy, were no longer the force they had once been. They were now fighting for survival. The battle began in the heart of Council space, at a strategic location where the most important hyperspace routes converged. The Council had concentrated their remaining fleets there, hoping to block Earth's forces from advancing any further. They believed that this would be their last stand, a final line of defense before their entire empire collapsed. The Earth fleet, though smaller in number, was relentless, armed with advanced weapons and the element of surprise on their side. Their ships appeared from the shadows, emerging from cloaking technology that rendered them nearly invisible to the Council's tracking systems. It was a strategy that had worked before, and Earth had no intention of stopping now. The battle unfolded with terrifying intensity. The Earth ships struck first, their weapons unleashing devastating blasts of energy that tore through the Council's defenses. The larger, bulkier Council warships, once thought to be indestructible, were torn apart with shocking ease. Earth's fleet, agile and fast, darted in and out of the fight, making it impossible for the Council to pin them down. The Council's ships fired back with all their might, but their attacks were futile. Earth had studied the weaknesses in their armor, the gaps in their defense systems, and each blow landed with deadly accuracy. The battlefield quickly became a graveyard for the Council's forces. Yet, even as the Council's fleets crumbled, they did not retreat. They fought with a desperate fury, their leaders knowing that the galaxy's future hung in the balance. They deployed their final reserves, their last remaining warships, hoping to tip the scales in their favor. But it was too little, too late. Earth's fleet had already taken the upper hand. The battle was a slaughter, with the Council's remaining ships falling one by one, their commanders unable to mount a counterattack. Throughout the conflict, Earth's forces never wavered. They had seen what was at stake, and they fought with the fury of a people who had long been oppressed, now standing on the precipice of victory. The Council had underestimated them, dismissed them as nothing more than a weak, insignificant planet. Now they were paying the price for their arrogance. With the Council's final defenses broken, the Earth fleet moved forward to strike at the heart of the Council's political power, the capital planet, the seat of the Galactic Council's authority. The symbolic importance of this target could not be overstated. To destroy it would be to shatter the Council's control over the galaxy, to destroy their entire infrastructure, their entire leadership. Earth's commanders knew that the task ahead was monumental, but it was the final step in their long campaign of revenge. As Earth's ships descended upon the capital, the Council's leadership watched in horror, powerless to stop the inevitable. Their once mighty empire was crumbling before their eyes. The capital, the heart of their power, was bombarded by Earth's weapons, each strike tearing into the heart of their defenses. The Council's last-ditch efforts to defend the planet were futile. The cityscape, once a shining beacon of the Council's dominance, now lay in ruins. And with that, the Galactic Council fell. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for centuries was no more. Earth had not just fought for survival, it had fought for a new beginning. The galaxy was no longer under the iron fist of the Council, it was free. The revolution that Earth had sparked had succeeded beyond anyone's expectations, and with the fall of the Council, the galaxy entered a new era. Earth's leaders, standing victorious in the ashes of the fallen empire, knew that this was only the beginning. The fight for a new galaxy would be long and difficult, but Earth had proven something fundamental. No matter how powerful the enemy, no matter how vast the empire, the will of the people could never be crushed. Earth's vengeance had not only toppled an empire, it had ignited a new hope for the oppressed and the downtrodden across the galaxy. The victory was not just Earth's, it belonged to every world that had suffered under the yoke of the Galactic Council. As Earth's flag flew high over the ruins of the Council's capital, the galaxy looked toward a future where the oppressed were no longer silenced. The revolution had triumphed, and the message was clear. The era of the Galactic Council was over. The era of Earth had begun. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this epic tale of Earth's vengeance and triumph, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sci-Fi Horizon Stories for more exciting and thought-provoking sci-fi adventures. Your support helps us bring you even more thrilling stories from the universe. See you in the next video.